You're not able to share?
Yeah, it's grayed out.
Oh, okay. So turning it on is what makes it not work. Okay. Does it work now?
Not yet.
Are you able? Which device are you using? You're not able to see the share screen button.
I can see it, but it's not functioning. I'm not
Really?
allowed to share. Yes.
Oh, okay. Because I've enabled everybody to be able to share their screen.
Maybe let me refresh.
Maybe just refresh. And you're muted.
Yeah. Um,
Does it work now? It
still.
shows they're in the call with three devices. So one of your devices is on companion mode. Okay, now two devices. So one is on companion mode, the other one is not. The one you're talking with is not on companion mode.
Okay.
Wait.
That is
Uh,
still not about share.
okay, is anyone able to try and share? So under host management, I have let everyone share their screen.
No, it's not working.
It's not working.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not.
And now?
Same thing. Saying it's not allowed to share your screen.
Okay, try it now.
Yeah, it is fine.
Yeah, but
Oh, okay, interesting. Sorry about that.
So I hope you can see my screen.
Yes, we can.
Okay, great. So today we're looking at continuous integration and continuous deployment, continuous delivery, and continuous deployment. So we normally refer to the two as CI/CD. You'll find that commonly referred to as CI/CD. So continuous integration. Now, when you work on code, you make changes. You want that to be part of the main source code. So you at that point where you are running the test and whatnot, and then merging it to the main source code, that forms part of the continuous integration. You are integrating it. You are making it as part of the main, and then we have continuous delivery. Um, so continuous delivery, this we have a point where we create some sort of artifact before, and then we do a build of the whole source code. So that is when we're creating the artifact, we call that continuous delivery. And then deployment, of course, is the point where we are automating the process of taking our code now into into production environment. Yeah, so from development environment into production environment. That is continuous delivery. So all this process is automated. You don't have to like manually trigger each of the step, and that's why we have come up with a pipeline that ensures that we carry out the whole process in an automated form. And we use what we call a YAML file. So today we interact quite a lot with the YAML file, one called yet another markup language.
Sebastian, I hope you're recording.
Yes, I am recording.
Okay, thank you. So are we hearing you? I think we are. Are you speaking? We seem to have lost you. Sebastian, we can't hear you. Maybe you're muted.
Hello, you can hear me right now?
Yeah, now we can hear you.
Oh, I think the microphone muted itself.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry about that. Okay, fine. So I'll have to start over again, or what? So I was saying that if you missed the last stages of the previous module, don't worry. We'll still do that in this module, because still part of the pipeline module. So I was explaining the difference. I was explaining CI/CD, what CI/CD is, and I said that the CI bit stands for continuous integration, and we're talking about continuous integration. What we simply mean is after you've worked on your code base, you've introduced some new changes, you want to make that as a part of the source code, the main source code that everyone is contributing to. So at that point where we are merging your changes to the main source code, that's what we call continuous integration. But then at that point, there are a number of things that we do, and one of the things that we do at that point is we do tests. We carry out a number of tests. Can be integrated test, we have unit tests, yeah, and so many other tests that can be done at that point, plus other things. We can do code review and whatnot at that point. And then there is the CI CD part, and the CD part stands for two things. One of the things that the CD bit stands for is continuous delivery, and then the other one is continuous deployment. So continuous delivery, what we're basically doing is we're creating some sort of artifact. We are doing a build of the whole source code. Now after we've done the integration, we do a build, and then we run to see if the code actually works perfectly. If it does, then it is ready for deployment. And at the continuous delivery, what we do is we are changing now from the development environment to deployment and environment. So we are just automatically shifting your code to some production environment. So that is continuous deployment. Yeah. So so this lab is not that it's quite short, and if we can begin. So there's the first bit. I think most of you already have that in place, where you create and configure your project. I think you already have that in place. And then there is the second bit where you import the eShop Git repository, and I think most of you already did that. So you imported that to Azure DevOps platform, and you also did clone it. Last time round we were in class, we did clone it. So if you don't have that in place, please ensure you do that. And then now starting at this point where we need to include the build validation as part of the pull request. Do you remember we talked about after you after you're done working on your code, you've created a commit, and then you now push your changes. You need to have your changes reviewed by someone. Yeah. So we talked about policies briefly, and one of the policies was the review policy, where you can have one or more than one devs reviewing your code to just ensure that it is up to standard and it is what was needed. So we make that as part of the pipeline. We enforce that using the pipeline, right? So today we'll start from there. So in this task, we'll import the YAML build definition. So I hope all of you can be able to see where the YAML. So we'll go to Azure Pipeline. First of all, let me share my entire screen because I say I'm only sharing one. I might not be able to see everything.
Yeah, we were not seeing the. So you said that maybe you can do a quick discussion mention. So just show the project that they should have created on the DevOps, Azure DevOps. Then maybe just show the view also from, I think you're using VS Code, I think, the one that you cloned.
Yes. Okay.
Because again, because you're recording, it will help, because maybe if some people got challenges last time, they can now see the recording.
Sure.
Because you're just now going to just mention, the things that you did, and they can always try and catch up.
Okay. So I hope you can see my screen. So we have the
Yes, we can see your DevOps.
Okay. So this is the project exactly as yours, and so when I go to the repos, I should be able to see my project, and you can see it right there. And it is linked to the VS Code. So at some point, maybe you might need to install some of the Azure developer CLI, for example. That will enable you to link your local repository to the Azure DevOps. But immediately you clone, you'll get suggestions. VS Code will give you suggestions to install some of these tools. So just ensure if you don't have Azure Developer CLI, ensure you install it. Which other tool did I see? There's Azure Tools. Also ensure that you install that. Kubernetes is not that necessary, but you can install it, but will not use it that much.
So the command to clone, so I can see number one, you're on the tab for Git. So I think that's the first thing to say. It may not be obvious for everyone on the left-hand side that you have different, can I call them tabs so you're under the source control one. Yes. So I think that's the first thing to just mention. And then you ran so at the very top, I think there's usually clone repository under source control. So maybe you can show that.
Yeah, I showed them that last time. I think we did that under Git.
Because remember I said there might be some people who maybe didn't follow last time, so they might struggle, because this is a video. You're just mentioning so that in case somebody struggled, they can replay from the beginning. You don't have to do it. You don't have to do it completely, but you can just at least mention.
All right. Fine. So after you have this project, you'd want to clone it on clone it locally on your PC. So then all you need to do is click the clone button right there, and if you have VS Code already installed on your PC and you went through the steps we asked you to do, where you had to configure your username and email, and everything is totally okay, the next thing you can do, you can just say clone in VS Code, and this one will ask you to open VS Code if it's not open, and then you follow the rest of it will give you some pop-up windows, just like accept, and it will be able to clone this project on your PC. Of course, it will ask you to also select a repo you want. For example, I'll just do it. This one now asks you to open, so you will open the VS Code. Mine is already open, and then you can see it asks you where do you want to save the project. So you select the exact location where you want to save the project. So I'll not save it because I already have it saved. So after you are done, it will also ask you to open a new workspace. You might, if you had other things going on, you might also want to open a fresh workspace. So you do that so that you can be able to just concentrate on a new workspace on this project. So, and then the other thing is to ask you also to install some of these tools if you did not have them installed, the Azure tools and the Azure Developer CLI, which are crucial tools because they enable you to link your local work to the Azure DevOps platform. So you ensure that you have this installed. Doesn't take a lot of time if the internet is good. So I already have those installed in my case. Well, there's another important file that we need, that is the YAML file, because this is the file that we use to build the pipeline, right? So you might want to install its extension too, so that it becomes easy for you to edit, and yeah, it will also like go through your files, see if there are any errors, and it will point that out for you. But if you don't have this installed, it might not be easy for you to catch some of those errors and debug them accordingly. So ensure that you have the YAML extension also installed. Yeah, you can get that from the extensions folder here. You can just type YAML and you install that, or Azure CLI tools and so on. All those tools I've mentioned. You can see we have Azure tools, we have Azure Developer CLI, and then we have the YAML. Yeah, if you want to work with containers too, you can do that, but I don't think that is for today. Okay. So that was how you clone. And then last time some of you we said that you can make a number of changes on your code base. So we're not asking you to really code as such. We just want you to understand the whole DevOps process. And the only thing we asked you to do is to include some comments on your code. Remember, the comments don't have any effect on the general code. The code will still run. So like this is my first comment, and when you do that and you come under source control, this is where we have the, if you want to check if you've made any changes and you want to see if they reflect or not, you check those under the source control. So right now you can see it has one. That means that there's one change that I need to, you know, I need to make it as part of the main source code. So and that is just this comment alone, right? So if I click on that, you see it points to the program.cs file, and that's exactly where I made the change. So I can make that change as part of I can add that to the source code. So I can write my message here. I can just simply put add a commit. But then remember, I told you that what you need to do is when you work on source code, your commit message has to reflect what you've worked on, and it has to be brief and straightforward. So in this case, mine is just for the sake of giving you an example. So I mean, it's not that it's not showing anything, it's not communicating anything, but yours has to. If it's a feature you've worked on, describe it briefly and let it be straightforward. Yeah. So once I'm done, I can commit. I can just click commit or commit staged. Yeah. So it's not staged at the moment. So the first thing you need to do is to stage. And that is similar to doing git add. So I showed you can do it on the terminal or you can do it right here, but right now we just want you to focus here. So I can stage it first and then commit it. So I think with that it's been committed. And then the next thing you need to do, you need to sync. When you click sync changes, what you're basically doing is similar to doing git push, right? On the terminal you sometimes write git push and whatnot, but when you click sync here, it is doing the push in the background. So you can do a git push or sync at this point, and then it will push your changes to the remote repo, and when you go there you should be able to see your changes right there. Okay, so I think that is it. All right, so I can go back to Azure and see if my changes reflect. And last time we said if you want to view the history of your commits, you just click on the commits under repos, that is, and you should be able to see your changes. So you can see you updated Nugget, Microsoft, and whatnot. So create a pull request. I can create a pull request. So so these are some of the changes that people made. You can see there is Luis Macedo, and others are automated by the bots. So we have bots, Git bots that just push some of these changes too. But mine is here, so I can create a pull request. So when you create a pull request, you're basically asking someone to, if we have a reviewer, and if you did have reviewers in your pipeline who ensure that they check your code before it's merged to the source code, when you create a pull request, then you're notifying them that, hey, I have made some changes and I need you to review before it's merged to the source code. So that's the purpose of a pull request. So I can create one for the sake of just showing you, and then you need to give it an example. So I can say can give it a description. But what you normally do, what we normally do most of the times when you're creating a pull request, you give it, if it was a feature I was working on, maybe a login page, I can say I can give it a title of a login page, and then I can give the description of what I've worked on, right? What are the changes I've introduced briefly here. If there are any images to show that to actually prove that you successfully worked on it, you can also add images. So it enables you to add images or short videos. You can always do that here. You can make it as part of the description, but most of the times it's just enough to give a short description. Yeah, you can as well leave it, but yeah. So you can add a reviewer if you, right now I don't have reviewers as part of my team, but I can easily search for people who I'm working with as reviewers. Or I have one person here, so, or I can add myself as a reviewer, so it doesn't harm. But most of the times you have to pick someone else in your team as a reviewer. So after that I can create the pull request, and I'll get notified that, hey, I need to review. So you can see I'll get notified as Sebastian, because I added myself as a reviewer. But if you added someone else, that someone else will get notification to review the work before it is merged. So I've received the notification here, and I can do a number of things. Number one, I can approve, I can reject. If I look at the changes that are being introduced to the main source code, and I feel that they're not up to standard, or we have some bugs, or there are a number of things that can make me reject. I told you also last time that you can just run tests on that branch alone. So I can clone that branch on my PC and run to see if it actually works as the dev has said that it does. So if it doesn't work the way I think it should, then I can reject the changes. So there are a number of things that can make the approver reject the changes, or the reviewer. Yeah. So in this case I can just say approve. So once I approve, then that means the changes can be merged to the main branch by the developer who requested for review, or I can as well merge by myself, but most of the times you let the developer just merge. So once I say approve, the developer will get a notification that, hey, your changes have been approved, so you can go ahead and merge them to the main branch. And right now we're working with the main branch, as you can see. So I can complete and go ahead and merge it to, to the main branch. So right now it is going to merge everything to the main branch, as you can see. But we are working with the main branch though, so which is normally not a good practice. So next time you need to create another branch and then work on it, and then when we merge now, you merge that branch to the main branch. So this one is been merged, the pull request has been merged, and everything is good. So you should be able to see the changes as part of so you can see it has been merged to the main branch. You can see all the way to the main branch here. Okay, so this is where you view the history, because remember we also looked at where do you get to view the history. So this is where you view the history. If you want to view the file that where the changes were made, you can click browse files here, and you should be able to see in which file were changes made. So it will take you there, and you should be able to check the files that changes were made. All right, so that basically is what we did last time, and today we can look at the pipelines. There's an element of branches though, let me not skip that. So you can create new branches here, or you can create branches using VS Code. You can do git branch, or you can just use this tool to create branches. So you come here, you come and you go to branch. You can merge from here also. You don't have to go to Azure DevOps, but I think our focus today was on Azure DevOps. You can do the branching here. You can rename a branch, and you can create a new branch. So I can create a new branch here, and I can give it a name like test branch or developer branch. Just call it dev branch. And if I want that branch to be to reflect on Azure DevOps, I can say publish branch. But if I just want it to exist locally, there's a way you can have it exist locally where you work on that branch, and then after you're done, you merge it to a remote branch or the main branch, and then you switch to the main branch, and then you push the changes. You can do that. But if I want my changes, if I want the changes that are on the local branch reflected on a similar branch on Azure DevOps, I'll have to publish this branch. So once I publish this branch, what happens is I'll be able to see this branch on the Azure DevOps portal. So let me publish it and see if it reflects there.
So, Sebastian, can I ask a question?
Yes.
I also don't know how your modalities are. Will you be pausing at some places for questions?
Sure. If you have a question, just shoot it.
Okay. So, what is a branch? I don't think you've explained to the class exactly. I don't know whether they are clear on what exactly is a branch and why it would be important not to work from the main branch. Maybe you can explain that.
Yeah, so I think we did explain this to the class last time round. It's a good question, Prof. So if I may ask one of you in class, what is a branch? Because I think we extensively talked about this last time.
Oh, okay. So I didn't know you had covered. Yeah, but let's hear whether people understood there.
Yes. So anyone in class? Yes, Danny, you raised your hand.
So I'll say like the benefits of working on a branch is, for example, it's a big team. You guys are working on different, different features. So, for example, we know in the software development life cycle, we have at least three what I call stages. We have the development, we have the testing, and we have the production. So or maybe when you're working on a team first, you can create a branch where all the development uh, features are going to be implemented. So it's not like I would say in a few words, it's to ensure that you know how can I say, just ensure that we don't push everything in the in the main branch in order to, for example, you might have a specific feature. In the developer branch, I create the FT branch or like a feature branch, and I'm working on the, I don't know, front end. So before merging it to the main one, they have to be able to ensure that it's gonna be able to integrate in the with the remaining of the code. So if we didn't have all those branch, you are just pushing it to the to the main. It would result in conflicts and some other problems.
Yeah, so Danny has mentioned one important thing. There's what you call conflicts. So when we have so many developers, remember you can have thousands of developers working on a project. It's very possible, and if we have such kind of number, then managing the source code becomes tricky. So the concept of branches helps us to easily manage the source code by easily resolving most of the conflicts that come with that. And one of the conflicts is one developer might work on a feature and introduce bugs into the source code when he or she pushes the changes that is just made. So for us to be able to control that, we normally have the main branch, which most of the times we say this is everything that is pushed to the main branch is ready for production. Remember, we have different environments. We have the development environment, we can have the test environment, and then of course we at some point we can also have what we call just an integration environment where we're integrating everything. I think test and integration must be like one and the same thing, and then we can have the production environment, right? So we can control what gets into these environments using the branches. So we can say that anything that's on the main branch is directly connected to the production environment. So when you push and merge changes to the main branch, we know that everything that is there is ready for production. So we can go ahead and do continuous deployment, yeah, which is an automated way of just pushing changes to production environment. And then we can have developers working on their own branches. So we have the main branch, and then we also have the developer branch. But then at some point we merge changes from the developer branch into the main branch, right? So we say all developers working on different features work with the developer branch. They don't work with the main branch directly, which is a good practice because so when the developers create their branches for the features they are working on, they create those off the develop branch. So if I'm working on the login, I'll create a login branch, and then so all the changes that I make, I merge them to the develop branch. And then also, of course, we have tests and whatnot, all those done on the develop branch. So if anything breaks, it doesn't affect the main branch. That means our application that's in production still runs fine, and our users are not affected in any way. Or the people who are affected are just those who are the rest of the developers who are handling the dev branch. So we have to fix those issues, and then later on when we test and we are sure that everything is okay, then we can merge to the main branch. And who is in charge of checking to ensure that everything is properly done and ready for production? They are the reviewers. So at some point we have the reviewers as the gatekeepers. Yeah. So that's what we call Git workflow. where you decide how you're going to work, how you're going to merge your work, how you're going to review. So all that process, we refer to it as a Git workflow, maybe something that we never mentioned, but it's good we mention right now. Yes, so we can go back to...
That's excellent. Thank you.
Okay, so I created the dev branch locally and then I published it. So you can see it already reflects on the Azure DevOps platform. So it's already here. So if I start making changes there, those changes will directly reflect here. But that is only possible if you've installed Git CLI and all those tools that I asked you to install the other time. So we have the main branch, and I told you maybe just one thing for those who missed this also, you can make any branch a default branch. But in this case, for you to make any branch your default branch, you need to come here and basically switch that. So I don't know, I can't yeah, set as default. It's already my main branch is my default branch. You can create another branch, call it production instead of main, and make it your default branch, and so on and so forth. Or the dev branch, you can make the dev branch our default branch. So when any developer clones our code, they start off from the dev branch and not from the main branch. Yeah. Okay, so we go to pipelines. So it's like we don't have any pipeline, so we'll have to create one. I think that's part of the instructions. We need to create a pipeline. So you go to pipelines, you create a new pipeline, and then you can give it whatever name. So so in this case, so where is your code? So when you're creating a new pipeline, it needs to identify where your code is, because your source code, where your code is where your YAML file is, and the pipeline looks for the YAML file. It's the most important file for creating the pipeline. So without it, you will not be having any pipeline. Now, at this point, we don't have our source code. We are not hosting our source code on Bitbucket, but we have our source code on Azure repos. If you have your source code on GitHub, then you just point it to your GitHub account, but then you'll have to ensure that you give it permission to access your repo, yeah, especially if it was private. So in this case, ours is on Azure repos because we cloned it, if you can remember. And there's only one project here. It is eShop on the web. So it's asking me to configure my pipeline. So what kind of project? My project is not running on Docker, but if it was, then I could pick Docker, because with Docker also you can easily configure the pipeline using Docker. But in this case, it's just an ASP.NET application. So I think I'll just go with ASP.NET. So it will give me a pipeline here, the Azure pipeline. So this one will be part of the code. So it will create this file as a part of my project. So if I have to tweak my pipeline in any way, this is the file I'll look for and introduce those other changes, right? So if I can just look through, so this will enable me to build and test the ASP.NET project. And then first of all, it will whenever I push any changes, whenever I merge changes to the main branch, so it will only trigger the main branch, but you can switch the branch if you want it to trigger the dev branch, so that when you make any changes to the dev branch, it automatically starts scanning for, it can run the test and whatnot. So you can switch the branch, but in this case, I just wanted to focus on the main branch. So whenever we make any changes to the main branch, it should start running the tests and whatnot, or the deployment for that matter. And then we are using, which kind of virtual image are we operating system are we running? We are running Windows latest. Of course, if you have any variables, you can set them here. And then are you running any task like installing packages? We need to install packages because during development you might introduce new packages, and we have the Nugget package manager for .NET applications, so we'll trigger that to install any new packages and whatnot. And the rest of the settings here, yes, but I hope you've seen the syntax. So this is the syntax of the YAML file, so you don't just like write stuff anyhow. There's indentation and whatnot that you have to stick to. Okay, so I'll save this pipeline and run it and just see if it successfully runs or not. If you have some environment variables that are part of your project, let's say you have what can be a good example here, you have some security keys and whatnot, you set them under the variable. So you can create new variable. Right now we don't have, but you can store them as part of the variables. Yeah. So I'll just save and run this. So once I save this file, since it's a new file that has been introduced to the source code, I need to stage it. I need to commit it. That's why it's asking me to give it a commit message. So I'll just say okay, a simple pipeline. So I'll commit it directly to the main branch, or I can commit it to the dev branch. But at this point, I'll just yeah, there's no need of creating a build for it.
Yeah, please mute yourselves.
So here we are. So when it is when the pipeline is running, you'll see it indicates, it looks at it as a job. So if you want to see what is happening, you can just click the job, and you can see it is moving step by step. So first of all, it initializes, it checks the eShop, the source code. If there are any packages to be installed, it will install those, and it will build, and it will run the test if you have tests. And then later on, of course, it will publish it if you have asked it to publish. So right now it is successfully initialized. It is I think handling the Nugget command, maybe running the package installation that we have in our project, and that takes time also. Well, so we'll go back to instructions so that we can just ensure that we also follow our instructions.
Yes, and I have a feeling there might be some people who might have a question. I saw like Carol was unmuting.
Okay.
Anyone with a question? You can also raise your hand so that we know that you want to ask a question. I had the mic unmuting a couple of times.
Okay. Yes, go ahead. Go ahead. That is Ian.
When you're creating the pipeline,
Yes.
when I reached select, I didn't see eShop on web.
Okay. Did you clone your project?
Yes.
All right, let me show you what I mean.
Are you able to allow him to share his screen, we see?
Okay, yeah, sure. Please go ahead, share your screen. Let me stop sharing mine.
Here.
Okay.
And I had cloned it.
Okay, just go back there. There's a place you're being asked to select a repository. So I can see you have a number of projects here already. I can't see the eShop repo here under your repos. Then that means you did not you did not, it's not part of your Azure repos. You need to clone it there. Can you click under click repos? And then, but I can see we have it, the eShop web. Okay, it's already there. You can see it here. So, okay. You go back to the pipeline. Create new Azure, select Azure repos. Yeah,
Oh,
there it is. Yeah, I think you
okay.
had picked a wrong option.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right. Yeah, if you're facing any challenges, you just let me know. Yeah. So what happens most of the times if we have any errors encountered along the way while the pipeline is
There's one
running?
hand.
All right.
There's a hand.
Yeah.
Yes, Janet.
Okay. I got an error when I ran the pipeline
Yes.
and the job, yeah, it's showing some error coming.
Your mic is not so clear. Can't hear you properly.
Okay, sorry. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
The pipeline, after I ran it, it's
Yes.
showing me an error.
It
It
does
is
what?
showing me an error.
After you run the pipeline, what happens?
It shows an error.
Oh yeah.
So
Yes.
she has an error. What error saying?
The error is saying, wait,
You can share your screen.
I can share, okay.
Mine says no hosted parallelism.
Yeah, that's a good problem. Just give me a sec. I'll address that. So when you encounter the parallelism issue, what is you need to there's some form you need to fill so that Microsoft can approve you to be able to run pipelines. So it's an issue on their side, not on your side. But then it takes a couple of days for you to. I know most of you will encounter that because you're running the pipelines for the first time. So it doesn't just work out of the box like that. You have to register. There's a link. I'll get that. Or if you can get that link, if you copy that error and you paste it on the
It's
web.
in the error.
Yes. They'll give you a link. And so you go to that link, fill in your information, and then wait for a number of days, and you'll be able to get an email from them and follow the rest of the instructions to unlock this.
Okay, so, okay, let me just stop the sharing.
Just click on the click setup CI with Azure. We see the error.
Okay. Can you see my screen?
Yes,
Are you
yes.
seeing?
Can
Okay.
see. Okay, it's the same error. No hosted parallelism has been purchased.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you still need to apply, but use your school email because with that they'll know that you're a student and you're trying to practice. They'll enable you. They will not charge you anything.
Okay, thank you.
All right. So most of you will encounter that error, and that's basically what you need to do. If I'll get a link, I'll share that with you. But you can copy that error message, put it on the browser. You should be able to get the link I'm talking about. Fill in your information and then wait for the feedback from them. Okay. So sorry about that. Okay, on my side you can see it mine ran, but the build process failed. So I want to check what the error is all about. So okay. Yeah, so I can see that there's some configurations I did not do on the project, like setting up the SQL email and password and whatnot, because it's trying to create a SQL server, or trying to access a SQL server on Azure DevOps, but it's not able to. So I need to set that one up because the project uses a SQL server. So I need to create one, create the password, username, and whatnot. So the password, the username and the password, I'm supposed to save those under the variables, and then just use.
Are you able to share your screen?
Oh, sorry. That was sharing. Thank you. Yes, so you can see my screen. Sorry, I forgot that it's not sharing.
Yes.
Yeah, so
Yes.
I ran my pipeline. I did not get the error you got. Most of the steps successfully, ran, and then I think it failed at the build stage. So it failed because I needed to. I needed to, under SQL Server. I need to create the username and email and whatnot for that, and I think that's not set up. So it's one thing that I need to, fix. So there's some configurations I need to fix. Otherwise, I think the rest of the steps are okay. So maybe I'll fix that later on, and then we can proceed. So basically, that's our pipeline. But then let's proceed with the rest of the instructions we see. So we've already created the YAML file, and then we have a number of different build steps where we can install. We can run install the dependencies. We've seen it install the dependencies using the Nugget Packet Manager. We've seen it. There's a step for running tests. If I can just go back, and if I can pull these. So we can also use containers. I can see we have Azure.yaml. Okay. I think we already have,
Yeah.
we already had
Using the web app service,
yes.
which is a platform as a service option. Well, it still does run on a container, but you don't have to configure a lot of the container settings. You just set up the app service, then Microsoft does the other detailed configurations for you.
Sure.
Yeah, but I can see there are Docker Compose files, which basically define the environment.
Yes.
So I think they do two options. They do the app service option, but also a container option for practice.
Yeah. So
Which is actually what I wanted to ask and bring up. The setup we've done is more on the code side, but not on the deployment side.
Sure.
Because I was thinking that there needs to be a setup on the deployment environment where the code will eventually execute, and the infrastructure that will be needed to execute that code, which we haven't yet done.
Yes. So I can see a number of YAML files here. If I can just go back to the instruction, I think let's stick with that. So under the add folder, you can see we have the eShop Web CI. So we have the CI file there. Let me see. I think it should be this one. This one, it's actually this one. So I can see you can have a number of pipelines there, and so this is what we have with .NET Restore. You can install all your package dependencies without having to store them in source control, and then we have the .NET build, which of course just builds the project and all of its dependencies. We have the .NET test, which is a test driver, and then the publish, which publishes the application and its dependency and folders for deployment. So if we check that, we should have all those steps. So you can see under stages, we have the build stage, but then it's building it on an Ubuntu image. Of course, at this stage we install the packages. We build, and then we run the tests, right? So the command at this point, we are running the test. So we build, and then we install the packages, we build, and then we run the test. Yeah. And of course we need to get our test files from the unit test from CS_proj. So we just point it to that. So I think this one is well defined. So we already have this, but then does this one also ensure for continuous deployment? I doubt it. Just builds, tests, and that's all. So we need to add a section where we need to add some code that will enable us to continuously deploy our source code to production. So I think that is also part of the things that we need to add. So I think that file is there, and if you don't have it, you can create it, but if you have the project, you should be able to see it. And then there's the branch policies. We can also set the branch policies. We go to repos branches, and then we need to set some policies on the main branch, and that is we need to add a reviewer, at least one reviewer on our main branch. So I think that is easy because we must have done that before. Just a sec. Repos branches, and then you can come to the main branch, policies, under policies, and then so at this point we can set the minimum number of reviewers that we want for our for this branch. So right now it is off. We can put it on, and then you can give it the minimum number of reviewers. So in this case, you can by default it has 2, but you can increase the number of reviewers, or you can decrease it. We can also allow the requester to approve their own changes, but that doesn't happen most of the times. Okay, when do we want this? When do we want reviews to happen? When we have new changes pushed. Yeah, so you can enable that, and you can continue fine-tuning the policy as much as you want. And then we can also prohibit the most recent pusher from approving their own changes. So if I don't want you to approve your own changes, I can select this one, but I can as well allow you, because I'm the only one, I can allow myself to push and to review my own changes. Yeah, so it's possible that you can push and review your own changes. Yeah. Yeah, and the rest of the policies here, like merge types, how many control branch history by limiting the available types of merge when pull requests are completed, and so on and so forth. These one are quite advanced. Maybe we might need some extra time, but for today it's just the number of reviewers. And then you can add more policies, for example build validation, and so on and so forth. Yeah. So I'll just add this one, and because of time, you can see time is really not on our side. I think there has to be a place where I need to save, or it's automatic. That should be automatic. Okay. So that's how you set policies. That's where you set the policies. And then so we already set the number of reviewers. I think for us we have 2. I think I allowed the requester to approve their own changes. If I did not do that, I can still go back. So we have to allow requester to approve. Okay, can allow it right there. Yeah, if you're the only one. And then on the main tab, report build validation, click plus. I think this is okay. So we want our build process to be automatic. Whenever we push any changes, we just want it to pick those and automatically run the rest of the rest of the tasks that we've defined in our YAML file. So we just make it automatic. Otherwise, if you want to trigger it by yourself manually, then you select manual, but that's not what we want to happen. We need to enforce the policy, so you can ensure that you select required. If you don't want to enforce some of the policies, you can say it's optional, and so on and so forth. And then when do you want to run the build? I mean, maybe we want to do it immediately when the main branch is updated, or after 12 hours, right? So you can always set the duration when you want to run the build. Yes. Oh, build. This is build expiration. When should it expire? Is it immediately after the main branch is updated, or after 12 hours? So yeah, we'll leave it at 12 hours because sometimes the build process takes a lot of time. Yes. So I'll just save this, and that should be good. So we are done with that step, and so working with pull request, I think I showed you how you can work with pull request, because I did a commit, and then I went ahead, I created a pull request, and then as a reviewer, because I was reviewing my own work, I was notified that I need to review, and then when I was reviewing, you either approve or you reject. So it's just one and the same thing. Yeah, so I don't think I will spend time there, and it's the same thing with the commit, and I think we did the commit in the previous lab, and I also did it as the first thing this morning. So you do a commit, and then after you do a commit, you create a pull request. Your reviewer will get your pull request. Whoever you picked as your reviewer, if it was yourself, you will receive the notification to review your own work. If you picked someone else as a reviewer, that person will get notified that they need to review your work. Otherwise, at no point will your work be merged before it is reviewed, as long as you set up the review policy in place. So I think I'll also skip this because I think it was well done, but I can as well do it again. I can create another commit, and then you see myself review it. I can repeat it the second time, it will not harm. Yes. So we need to configure this pipeline for, I think we've even shown this, right? We created a new pipeline, the YAML, existing pipeline, YAML. We already have this file. but then our file doesn't have the ability to continuously to enable for continuous integration, so we need to add some code. So I think we'll copy this code, and so the trigger is on the main branch, and yeah, we want it to, okay, so let's copy this and add it as a part of that file. I think go back to Azure repos. Let me see that we have that file here. Should be this file. So there are a number of changes we need to do here. I don't know if we remove everything we have there, and this one is so simplistic, but what came with the wait a minute, it's Azure eShop CI. I doubt whether this one is the CI file.
Yeah, it's a different file. It's at the bottom there.
Should
There.
be this one. Yeah, it was this one. So we need to add this, the trigger and the path. So we replace the trigger and the main. I think that's just at the top. So where we have the trigger right here. Yeah. No, sorry,
You delete you delete the trigger and main together.
Yes. So let me see. Oh, okay, we have it commented out here. It wasn't even in place. It was not in place. That means there was no branch we were triggering at any point. So we need to replace this. So there's an error that means the alignment is not proper.
You delete the space. There's a space.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's okay right now. So I can commit these changes. I hope you still remember where to, when you make any changes, the source control will be able to automatically detect that you've made any changes, so you can see it right here. Just simple message, and I think I can commit this one, but I need to stage it. So it will always ask me, would you like to stage? I have to stage it, so I'll click always so that it doesn't keep asking me every other time. So I've staged, and then you stage first, then you commit. So it has done that automatically for me. So I'm doing the push. Yeah, so you click the sync button, and it should be able to push, but then it is pushing to the dev branch and not to the main branch, because yeah. And then later on I'll go to the dev branch and then merge it with the main branch, then run the whole pipeline again to see if it successfully runs or not. Well, so I'll go back to Azure portal right here. I will go to, I can check the branches, or I can check the commits. So if I click this branch, yeah, so you see updated just now. So you updated dev just now. So since I've pushed the changes to the dev branch, now I can create a pull request and ask someone to review the same steps we skipped the other time. So I leave it as it is, but you can always give some additional description to make it make sense. And I can add reviewers. It's optional. So so this is at the point where you pick the reviewers. So I can pick myself as a reviewer, but of course in a team you have to pick someone who has been asked to do the review for every code that is
Yeah,
being
as you
integrated.
as you create, just a minute.
Yeah.
I just wanted to say that at the very top,
Yes.
it may have escaped some people. You're now creating the PR to merge dev into main at the very top.
Exactly.
Yeah.
True. So you can pick which branch you want to merge to. So I was working with the dev branch. I created the dev branch, and that's where it's a good practice. You don't work with the main branch directly, because we say that is the branch you use for production. So this is the main, and I'm merging it into this is dev, and I'm merging it into the main branch. But you can always pick if there's any other branch that you've been asked to merge to. The workflow is different across different companies, so you've been asked to merge maybe to a different branch, maybe a test branch, whatever it is. So ensure that you merge to that branch. Yeah. So, but in this case, I'm merging everything directly to. I'm merging the branches I've created to the main branch. Yeah. Thank you for that point. Okay, so now I'll go ahead and create the pull request. And since I picked myself as the reviewer, then I automatically get this notification to approve or to reject. So I'll go ahead and without thinking twice, approve my own work. Yeah. I can approve with suggestions. I can say that your work is okay, but you could not do it this way. Maybe there's my style of coding is not that proper, but still my code works, yes, but the style is not that good. So I can approve with suggestions. Or if everything is perfect, I can just approve. Yeah. So, or I can reject. So in this case, I'll just approve.
So since you're working on the pipeline, I forgot to ask.
Yes.
At some point, are you able to add a security tool to do like a code scan, like a simple tool like Snyk, SYNK?
Yes. But let me first check here and see if there's anything. So you can configure those tools within this pipeline.
Under the pipelines.
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
sawa.
So like
It's
you can
okay.
see, we have
I know I did.
SonarQube
Yeah, this
here.
is SonarQube. Yeah.
Yeah, we have SonarQube. So this pipeline has Sonar. So, but you can just
And it's like for
yes.
it's like a cloud. What's
Yeah,
that?
this one's for
What are
cloud.
they saying? But you still need to give the project key and
Now, yes, those ones now you
to
can
activate it.
set them under the variables and then just use. Yeah, you need to set those. I don't know, they've not been set up. Yeah, you need to set the key, but then you don't type the key directly here. That's why you have the environment where you set up those, and then you can just point them to the environment variable. You can use the environment variable to to point you to the key you've stored somewhere.
Okay, so it's okay. Maybe let's just finish this, then we can add those later.
Yeah. So I think my pipeline is still running. The moment I merged, so it's now running the pipeline again. Yeah. So when you check under the pipeline, you'll see the history of your runs at every point. Whenever you merge any new feature or any new changes, it has to run the pipeline again, and that's exactly what is happening right now. So it is running the pipeline once more because of the changes that I introduced. So that is it, and I think that marks the end of this. Let me see, because I created a pull request, I merged, and then
Yes.
navigate to repos. You can create a new branch. We created a branch called dev, but you can still create another branch called feature 2 based on the main. Click feature 2, go to any file, make changes, edit, and then commit, create a pull request, exactly what we've just done. And then of course merge those changes, review, merge, yeah. And then you'll see the branch triggered automatically. What is happening here is our main branch was triggered automatically, and that's why it's running the build and whatnot. Yeah, I did not have to go and trigger the pipeline, so it started running automatically after I had done the merge. So that's what's being explained right here. Yeah, I think we've done that.
Awesome.
Yeah, I think that is it. It's not difficult, as you can see. It's so easy. If you have any question, you can ask before.
You've made it look very easy. Yeah, I can see the claps are coming in. Let's do it. It's awesome. You know, when a developer does it, it looks very easy, seamless.
Yeah.
But of course, it will be another thing when they try to do it themselves.
Sure.
So let's maybe have some Q&A. I think we have like another 10 minutes, which is some good time. So you can have a good interaction with Sebastian.
Yes, you can ask questions if you have any. Okay.
So had you mention a few things? I don't know why they're not asking. I don't know that it's obvious for them, but just a few things that you may have mentioned. So I had you talk about Nuggets as a packet manager. What are packages? I don't know whether all of them know what that means and the whole element of setting up the environment. And then also, what is the outcome of this pipeline? Like, are you able to show the artifact? And are you able to explain? I know you mentioned it, but I don't know whether it's clear for everybody what artifacts are. And where is that artifact right now? Is it something that somebody can see? Yeah, maybe I can start off with those two questions.
Okay. So so first of all, the Nugget package manager, when you are doing development, you use modules that someone else has already written so that you don't have to rewrite the whole thing. For example, here you can see a number of modules, C# modules. Yeah, we have one for cookies, another one for health checks, and so on and so forth. Now, different frameworks. For example, we have ASP.NET is a framework for C# based projects. So what happens with the framework is it comes with a way of enabling you to easily manage different packages, install or uninstall those packages, right? So it has a pool of so many packages that people already worked on that can do a number of things. If you want one for authentication and authorization, we have those. So you don't have to rewrite code for authentication and authorization. You have someone who's already written code for that, and you just need to import it as a package. Yeah. So we have Nugget Packet Manager, where we have it's a repository for all those modules or packages, if I may call them. So your work is just to go there and search, and then once you search, you install it. But then when you're doing development, you can do that. What about when you are deploying your application? It will be very tedious for you to go and again install those packages afresh for your application to be able to run in some server somewhere. Yeah, it's running on your PC, but it has also to run in some server somewhere where you are hosting your production environment or your test environment. So the pipeline enables you to like automate this process. It can look through your source code, and like in this case, you can see you have a number of packages here. So it will run through, check, and see that okay, we have all these packages, and directly talk to the Nugget package manager and ask Nugget package manager to install all these applications that exist in your source code. Yeah, so that's one of the things that the pipeline is able to do for you. What other question did you ask, Prof? I think I lost track.
Sorry, I missed. That's really good. Thank you for also showing it practically.
Yeah.
So the other question was, what is
artifacts?
Yes, what is the artifact that is the outcome of all this?
Yes.
And what is it really? Yeah.
All right. So what happens? An artifact, if an artifact is just now a collection of everything. After you've merged your code, you've run tests and whatnot, and everything seems to be working fine. Now that becomes like an artifact, like an image now of a version of your source code at that point in time, a running version, yeah, one that runs and is okay, doesn't have any errors or bugs. So whether we can see it or not, I don't think if I don't think if Azure enables us to see the artifacts that have been pushed maybe to production. We can't see them right here. But when you're running,
Is
when,
there a
when
folder
the
I
pipeline
think mentioned is in the YAML file?
uh-huh.
Is there Nini? Because I thought there was a mention of the. Anyway, maybe it's probably just to check.
So the thing is, it will access some virtual machine somewhere in the cloud. Maybe you want to host on Linux, so it will create a Linux environment for you, and then now pick your code, also run it there. So generally that image, the Linux image with your code, is what we call the artifact. But now for us to access it and see it, I mean, I haven't seen any way to access that. But generally, your code, the image of your code and the Linux box that you've been given, collectively we call that an artifact. It's an artifact because it can be picked as it is and even run somewhere else.
Yeah, there's a place where I think you can see it. It's just that it's just that maybe I might take a while to see. But there's a directory where
we
it
have artifacts right here.
Yes.
Yeah. You're right. I've not seen that.
But it's actually defined somewhere in the YAML the name. Mm-hmm. Yeah, but anyway, it's something just maybe to just say it's the outcome, like what you've just explained. Mm-hmm. It's a result of everything being put together after you've run your pipeline.
Sure.
It's that outcome that then is ready to be deployed.
Exactly. So
yeah,
I think under artifacts you can save your versions of the different. Mm-hmm. The more you build more and more, that means you're creating more and more artifacts. You can have different versions of those, so that in case any of you want to revert to any of your previous artifacts and run it instead of your current one, you can always switch back to it. So I think that's why we have the artifacts here. So, but you have to link it to the pipeline. Yeah, at the moment we've not created one, but it is very possible. And then we have the test plans. I think this one also enables you to just run the tests on your code, but I think that was not part of today's lesson.
Wonderful. I don't know if there are any questions. Seems people are quiet. Could I ask, please, you type your attendance? Please type attendance on the chat. In the form of your ID and name. I can see we only have like 3 minutes and I'm not hearing any questions. Are you guys happy?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Seems things have gone well. All right, so the requirement for you to submit this assignment will be for you to document that you have set up your pipeline and it ran. So it just take the screenshot of that. Just basically the completion of this particular lab for submission. Yeah, so let me quickly take attendance. For the sake of just, I'll call out the names. And just to say thank you so much, Sebastian. I'm not seeing any questions. Probably that means you were very clear in your delivery. We also have the recording, which is great. So thank you for that. So after this, I think maybe